All right, guys. So our next topic here takes us out of the Spider-Verse or MCU verse, whatever you want to call it. That's all of them. So I mean, that was a big chunk of the show. I told you there was a lot of news in regards to Spider-Man and all that stuff. But now we're kicking it over to the DC universe, and this isn't even the DC. I don't even know what you want to call it anymore. It's DC EU, but this is the DC multiverse world, whatever it is. There's been a story that came out that said Todd Phillips himself, the writer and director of the first installment of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie, is actually working on a number two. And I think this has been an ongoing debate here in our just this in our movie talk sphere here because Joker 1 was such a standalone good single movie of just like, well, a good exploration of what would make someone in our world turn into a character like the Joker. 'Cause, I mean, there wasn't really a Batman or anything like that. I mean, like, Thomas Wayne was a part of it, briefly. And, little kid Bruce Wayne was in it briefly, but it was all about, what could drive a man in our real world to become someone like the Joker. And it was like it was a great movie, but I think a lot of people would typically, wanna see more, and there is a camp of, people who do wanna see more, obviously. There's also a lot of people, like, kinda myself, where it's just like, it's kind of a perfect movie on its own, and I don't really know what you could even do with the sequel, and I don't it runs a very fine line of, like, they're obviously going to explore doing a sequel, like, no matter what, because the thing made $1 billion. It made over $1 billion. It cost them like $65 million to make the movie. So it's unanimously, like definitively, one of Warner Brothers' most profitable movies ever made. It's damn near probably one of the most profitable movies ever made in existence, given the low budget for it. So it's kind of a no duh that they're going to explore making a second one just because of money. But my only hope here with it is that I know Todd Phillips and especially Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix turned down the role of Doctor Strange because he doesn't like to do franchises. He doesn't like to be locked into things like that. He didn't want to sign a multi-film deal, and Marvel essentially makes everybody sign multi-film deals in case they want them to pop up at another point in time. And Joaquin Phoenix ain't about that. And he's been on record saying that multiple times. And both Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix have both said like they had no plans of ever doing a second one of these. Obviously, Warner Brothers has probably been bugging the hell out of Todd Phillips to just make another one or try to make another one. Try to make something make sense to make another one just so we can make more money. 100%. Like, there's no denying that. I don't fault them for that in any way. They'd be stupid to not try to get him to make one. So I think the good news from this is that they're leaving it up to Todd Phillips, the guy who like made the first one and made it a success. So they're putting the ball in his court essentially. So if he comes up with a story that looks good, I'm sure like he'll convince Joaquin to come back and do it. And I think Joaquin has said the same thing. If it's a good story, he would come back to do it. But he's also said he wouldn't want to do it. So I think the only problem we would ever have with this is if Warner Brothers got greedy and was just if Todd didn't want to make it and he's like, "Nah, I don't want to do it," but then they went and got someone else just to do it. You know what I mean? Because I think the saving grace here to this is the fact that Joaquin probably would not do it at all if Todd Phillips wasn't involved at all. So in the end, that's my kind of hopes with it is that if they don't like the script that Todd comes up with, that they don't make it just to make it. And I think having such a someone like Joaquin attached as your main star, I don't think he would do it if he thought it was a shit script. So, I don't know, that's the only thing. Is like I said, I'm kind of on the camp where, like, I don't really think you need to make another one, but if there's a good story for it, I'm always up for seeing more. So, I don't know, I have hope that anything that Todd comes up with and Joaquin signs off on, I would assume it's probably at least on conceptually good. But, Rick, you said something interesting here, and I wanna get your thoughts on this now then, because you said you haven't even watched the first Joker movie.
True.
So, let's talk about that. What do you think about them even making another one?
Well, I haven't seen it, but I know a lot about it, and I know like what it's about. And my brother saw it and basically like shelled it all out to me. But I don't know what they would do with a second one. It's like the first one was good, from what I understand, and they got the point across and everything like that. But like, where are you gonna go with that? Is my question. So
No, that's the thing. Because the thing you run into, because whether or not they make a good like, because I firmly believe, like I said, that Joaquin wouldn't come back unless Todd was there, and he wouldn't do it unless he thought the script was good to begin with.
right.
And then I don't think Todd Phillips would want to do it unless he comes up with a good story for it.
Well, but
Like,
yeah, and my question, I guess I've already said this, is just like, what's the story gonna be? You know,
and
like
that's the
because
thing. Yeah, who knows? And my only concern would be, which I don't think Todd or Joaquin would want anything to do with this, but if I'm worried that the suits at WB or somebody may just try to like forcibly make this thing connect with something and do like the whole shared universe thing with it. Like, you know what I
right,
mean? Because it was perfectly fine as a standalone thing. If they want to explore more about like the Joker's origin, they don't need to like say it's, part of Robert Pattinson's Batman or he's now the Joker in some other thing. You know what I mean? I think they need to stay away from that because the movie
yeah.
was a success on its own.
Oh yeah.
But
Like I said, like when I think of the Joker movie, I don't even think of Batman, like at all. And it
yeah,
just didn't seem like it tied into that, minus like you said, like Thomas Wayne and Bruce Wayne, like as a kid and whatnot. Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. So, John, what are your thoughts on this? You think it's a good idea to do a Joker 2? Where do you think they would even go with it?
Yeah, my initial thoughts were like this will never happen. Like it's not going to go through. Both of them said that it was done after the first one. Um, but I have not to toot my own horn or think too much of myself, but I have the solution to the Joker 2 conundrum. Um, the Joker has always had a very uh, undefined um, origin in the comics and in film. I mean, it was one of despite what some people think, it was one of the plot points of The Dark Knight. The Joker in The Dark Knight does not have a definitive origin. He tells a definitive origin. He actually tells two definitive origins in that film. But he doesn't. We never find out if either of those are true or if neither of them are true. And that's kind of the idea, kind of all along in comics, has been like the Joker is more just an idea or a concept of crazy, of insanity, of villainous that runs through the Batman stories over time. So the solution to the Joker 2 conundrum is Todd Phillips did a movie where he had a commentary on mental health and the way society interacts with those that have mental health issues. For Joker 2, Joaquin Phoenix doesn't come back. For Joker 2, you do a completely new Joker story. And maybe you look at it from the idea of how society interacts with criminality and people that are considered criminals. And maybe you take a street level thug and you put him through the paces of the US criminal justice system, and that drives him slowly insane and he becomes the Joker. Or you take a look at it from the capitalistic side of the US society and or society in general, and you have a guy that's just so caught up in the not having enough or not being at the same level as all his friends and family, that he slowly drives himself insane and develops himself into the Joker. Like there's so many different ways that you can approach the character and things that you can do with the character that you make it more of an anthology series, and instead of tying directly into the previous movie that came before, you do different takes on the Joker, just as the Joker has always had different takes done in the comics and in, media entertainment up until this point. So, you know, I've built that up in my head in just the 5 minutes that we've been talking about the movie here so far. And so now when they don't do it, I'm going to be a little disappointed, but it is a way to kind of do a sequel to that film, have it tonally fit with what they did with the first one, in that it's a standalone Joker origin story. But also not be reliant on getting Joaquin Phoenix to come back, because he does seem like the kind of actor that doesn't want to retread old ground, and gives you the opportunity to use a director who clearly has a sort of vision for this type of thing going forward. So that's kind of my pie in the sky hopes for what they may do with it. Maybe more realistically, I think that, Todd Phillips maybe comes up with a good, solid story of, where that particular Joker character goes in that universe. And DC does what they're doing over at Sony with the Venom universe and just gives kind of Todd Phillips his own quote unquote universe to build out and be what he wants it to be. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that's I had never really considered it until you just said it, but I think that would be actually a pretty cool idea. I don't know though. Do you think the only thing I could see like protruding that in any sort of way or interfering with that if they went that anthology route is do you think like the marketing for it? They would lose out on the like Joker 2 thing, you know what I mean? So they'd have to like
Sure.
clearly market it to say like exactly what it is that you described. I don't know how.
But
I don't know if the general audience would understand. You know, not that everyone's stupid, but it just you run that
well,
risk.
I think the popularity of that particular of the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, I think that at least would quell my fears as a movie studio head that people won't get it because, like you're showing right now on screen, there have already been 4 iterations of the Joker prior. Well, I'm sorry, Todd Phillips, Joaquin's Joker was covered up for me. But there have already been 5 Jokers on screen, and none of them are the same character. So I think audiences get that there are different Jokers out there. And yes, you probably couldn't necessarily call it Joker 2. I don't know what kind of, maybe you call the next one the Clown Prince of Crime, especially if it deals with the criminal aspect of the Joker's character or whatever. Maybe you find some clever way of, using some of the other names the Joker has gone by over the years. Because they, at least I'm trying to remember. I saw it twice and I still can't remember. I don't think they ever reference him as the Joker in Todd Phillips the Joker. I don't think he's ever called. Maybe Robert De Niro's character says, "What are you, some kind of Joker or something?" in an offhand way, but he clearly doesn't go by the name Joker in that
No,
film.
he says it when
So,
he's about to walk out onto the show. He says, "Call me Joker."
oh, call me Joker. That's right.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm sorry. I
That's the
forgot. That
only
was even in
time,
the
though. I
trailer.
don't think anyone
But that's
actually called
yeah.
him Joker. He just said,
It's before
"Call
he
me
went on the
Joker."
TV show, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right when he
Yeah.
goes out on the stage, right before.
Yes. So you could theoretically use other names and then just, obviously as long as you have the white makeup, the smile, the whatever, I think people would get it. And you could do a different take on the character that way.
Yeah, I think that's honestly a cool
I feel
idea.
that.
Like I never considered it or heard it until you just mentioned it, and like I would like to see them do that, and because if anything, too, it would really only help further popularize the other Jokers that would exist. Like if they focus on a criminalistic character that would evolve into the Joker, that's kind of like Jared Leto's Joker. Like you know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yep.
maybe it would even help these other iterations of Jokers that people don't really like, or they could do something completely new and inventive with it. And like Heath Ledger references, like or there was some supposed like backstory of like him being like a war veteran or something. You know, they could do something with that, which would kind of also you probably have to touch on like PTSD and which would kind of be mental health, but it's a
Yep.
completely different look on it.
Type of
So
mental health. Sure.
yeah, so I mean, there's definitely a lot they could do
Well,
with that. I'd like to see him do that.
I mean, I know DC is kind of, or DC Warner Brothers, at least who's there now, who knows what will happen with their merge with Discovery, but at least those that are there now and running things have kind of decided they're done with the certain aspects of the Snyderverse, including the Leto Joker. But you could theoretically let Todd Phillips do the next one be the origin because we don't have the origin story for Leto's Joker. I mean, he could theoretically go back and do the origin story for Leto's Joker if they're willing to explore that part of it. I mean, that maybe that's not the next film, but once you have this franchise going, like if Leto wants to come back and do it, and then you like you said, that more criminal aspect of it, he would dovetail nicely into looking at that part of the origin. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's an Oscar-winning actor, and he definitely hasn't
Yep.
had his chance to really be Joker yet. So I'm definitely
Exactly.
willing to give him a whole movie to actually explore it. We've only seen bits and pieces of him 2 different times too, because when he shows up in Snyder Cut, completely different character.
Sure.
So
In a good way, though.
yeah, in a good way.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to see him get like a full take on actually doing it. That's why I kind of hope
Well, the way
that Joker Harley movie actually happens at some
the
point.
way I looked at the Joker was like this Joker Joaquin Phoenix movie is kind of like the origin story, whatever you want to call it. But like, what if it's not him? What if it's other people taking influence from his story, from his actions, you know? And that's the way I've always kind of looked at it, because I don't think Joaquin Phoenix's Joker like ties into Batman at all. I mean, other than like seeing Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne and all that, but like, you know, it's more or less like a origin of the character, but not the person, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's a character study of like what would lead
exactly
someone in pretty much our reality to become a Joker.
Right, right. And then like down the road, somebody sees that, like he's locked away in prison or whatever, and they're like, dude, like I get this, like I feel this, you know, and
well, they
kind of base it off that.
Yeah, there was definitely an element of that at the end of that Joker movie. I mean, he's held up as kind of this icon for the downtrodden,
Right.
and at the end of the original. So yeah, that is definitely a story plot that they could pick up and continue in a sequel that I think would work well.
More or less like somebody takes influence from his character.
I mean, that could be a way for them to sequelize it. They could reference Joaquin's as like the starting point. Like,
yeah,
what
somebody's like, hey,
person.
I liked what that guy was about. Like, I'm gonna do this, like, but turn the volume up to 11. You know,
copycat. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, the only thing that it makes me excited about this in any way, shape, or form is the fact that Todd Phillips is doing it. Because I think as long as WB keeps their heads on straight and realizes that like it wasn't necessarily just the IP that made it successful, it was the writer and director, like telling the good story with the great actor that made it successful. Because as we've seen, just because you throw Joker in, it doesn't mean it's going to be like some big renowned success. That's not really how it works. So hopefully in some way Todd does come up with a good story, because I'd like to see more. Even like in some ways I'd like to see more of Joaquin's, just out of morbid curiosity of where the hell you would even take the story. And then I'm kind of leaning towards John's idea of just like telling an anthology thing and just like, well, let's just explore more different types of origins that would lead someone to becoming the Joker. I like that idea a lot. So whatever you guys think, though, let us know down in the comment section. Oh, you got something, John?
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna hop in right now. I'm gonna do my sign off. I actually just got a note on my phone that I need to hop off here. But thanks for having me on this week. This was a good show so far. You guys wrap up the last two well, and I'll be eager to check out what you guys have to say about the last two topics, because they're fun ones. So
always a pleasure.
Yep, you guys can catch me over at Nightwing_K, Instagram, Twitter, and that's it. Have a good week.
All right, see you later, John.
See it.
All right, thanks, man. See you guys.
Yep. But guys, yes, let us know what you think about the Jokers and what John's idea. I like John's idea for the anthology series of Joker films. So let us know what you think down in the comment section below.